quote from page 2 of addendum to request for impeachment of Texas State Senate. In consideration of this and other crimes that have been attempted for redress by Kraus officially since December 10th, 2016, Kraus requests consideration of these acts as violations of Section 22 of the Texas Constitution, which states, quote, Section 22, treason against state. Treason against the state shall consist only in levying war against it or adhering to its enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason except on the testimony of two witnesses to the same overt act or on confession in open court. Krause contends that following a declaration of a state of emergency in the state of Texas in September 2017, numerous legislative changes were implemented under fraudulent pretenses. These changes and the implications of their implementation during a declared state of emergency were done in manners that aided and abetted the murders of numerous Texas citizens, including members of law enforcement. Krause contends that these acts and the attendant cover-up, including efforts to defraud the people of Texas of their personal private property and means of self-defense, such as access to due process, constitute a levying of war upon the state insofar as Section 2 of the Texas Constitution says, Section 2, inherent political power, Republican form of government. All political power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their benefit. The faith of the people of Texas stands pledged to the preservation of a Republican form of government, and subject to this limitation only, they have at all times the inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish their government in such manner as they may think expedient. Leveraging the safety of the people of Texas in manners that are fraudulent as part of a long-term effort to divest the people of Texas of their constitutional rights is not only a violation of the Texas Constitution, but an act of war against the people of Texas. Now, is there a dispute regarding definition of act of war? Well, I have already provided testimonial evidence as well as what would be supporting testimony in course of these charges regarding levying of war and treatment of people in consideration of there actually being a declaration of war. And I have also provided what I understand to be more than a year and a half of testimonial support to an acknowledgement that what we're experiencing with COVID-19 should have been understood and addressed as if it were an attack upon the people of the United States. If there are concerns about who, in fact, is levying biological warfare against the people of the United States, and take into consideration that in the course of this, there have also been a specific request for charges to be brought against former governor of Texas, Rick Perry, former Attorney General of Texas, John Cornyn, and former Solicitor General of Texas, Ted Cruz. Why? Specifically for such charges. And in the course of abuse of office in performance of those roles at the time, we now have serious problems directly connected to the material events that are ongoing now related to a former Secretary of Energy, an alleged current senator of the state of Texas, and an alleged current senator of the state of Texas on the federal government. What does this have to do with the Texas State Senate? The role of the Texas State Senate in assuring against violations of the Constitution that compromise the safety of the people of Texas to go all the way back to 2001. Why? Right now, there is a tender for a hydroelectric facility in another country that as of the last couple of years has even been acknowledged in Congress, including through proposal of a bill that I'm looking at looking at the actual text of that bill right now, proposed in 2016, regarding State Sponsor of Terrorism Designation Act. In the course of this, I've had reason to contact one of those senators directly, as well as in connection with contacting the senator from my home state about this specific country, and an understanding that here in Texas, actions were being engaged to commit an act of terrorism within that country concerning a conference connected to immunizations, which would be the kind of thing that would aid and abet acts of biological warfare if it were to be allowed to occur and deliver on intends to actually use it for further acts of terrorism, which was my concern at the time. And at every step of the way, an appropriate process of redress or an effort to prevent against escalation has been intentionally denied and obstructed in order to frame people in Texas to be complicit with acts of terrorism occurring in other countries that are leveraged to benefit people in illegal activities here. There's more than 4 years. The specific questions or the specific concerns regarding laws in 2017, including during a time frame when this specific act of terrorism concerning this specific country occurred, also involved licensing, including licensing involving people who were formerly in the military that were making a transition into the civilian realm. And my concern that licensing was being used in acts of securities fraud, including securities fraud that was responsible for committing insurance fraud to cover up for crime and to cover up for criminals in commission of crime. All of that's been proven. All of that's been proven. Now, the question of whether or not that specific country is actually justified as being designated as a state sponsor of terrorism and hence an enemy of the United States, and so any efforts to aid and abet that country specifically in acts against its own people or in proliferation of matters even regionally, including its next door neighbor countries, where right now there is a very significant matter afoot that is being characterized by members of the federal government in a very specific and demonstrable manner that has a material impact on other factors related to the state of Texas, specifically regarding members of the military, veterans, and members of their family. And those accusations go all the way back to the summer of 2017 when I contacted the Texas Veterans Commission directly. The Texas Veterans Commission is directly under the authority of the governor of Texas. I have more than proven my charges. As a matter of fact, just yesterday, not only did I have a verbal acknowledgement of what could have been presented potentially as a part of a hearing, but I also provided written confirmation before 4 a.m. this morning as part of and in the course of consideration of other things I was dealing with concerning allegations regarding the role of the Department of Defense at this time. There's absolutely no justification for trying to say that it didn't occur. If it did not occur in a manner that the current effort to simulate some other legal process concurrent to an actual legitimate legal process, that's not my concern. This was a specific, literal charge. It has been meted out.